A pleasure to have you here. So to start the debate today, I would like to start with a question for Ali, as you haven't been able to provide us with your input. So as we saw some of the presentations and the discussions that have been happening around the functionalization as a hotspot, and sometimes even put as a devil, or that we modify our natural fiber so much, functionalize it so much that we don't know what they will look like. So could a modification of a bio-based feedstock make the material behave like plastics? Do we want that? I guess a very, in a way, question that others have touched. But what is your take on that?
Yeah, sure. We have the, say, cellulose-based plastics. We have starch-based plastics and so on. So the simplest way is to look at it. So if it looks and behaves like plastic, most probably it's plastic. So the question is then that how you use the plastic. That is the essential question. And then like we are a little bit like pushing with the rope in this question, so that if you start from the design point of view, you have first the function, and then you consider how it fits to the system weights to be used. And if I start to like rebuild a reusable package, so what is the material I will choose? Guess what it is? Steel and steel. Yeah. When I was in army, so I had there a bucket where we ate, and it was made year 34. So it has, say, sustained 2 wars in between, and so on. So what a hack we are speaking about here. So we are speaking about the speed, economy, etc. And the question is that how it's fitting in. So that it's not so that material is bad or good. It's the usage which defines whether it's efficient or non-efficient.
Very comprehensive and great answer. And I guess with that, I will bring a question from the online audience before I open to you guys here, because prior we have had a list of questions coming there. And this is specifically for Huhtamäki. Then, as you gave us an amazing update on the PPWR, it aims for reducing packaging overall from the industry point of view. So just the opinion of the person questioning, just recycling won't itself lessen the amount of packaging. Of course, the aim of a company is to sell as much of their product as possible. So how do you see the target of producing less waste when it probably means producing less of your products? So what is your industry point of view? It's a long question.
I don't know if it's a long answer, but we do food packaging. So whether we consider also the HoReCa sector packaging, food packaging, we deal with food. People eat food every day. The demand for food is growing. Also for packaged food, especially in the Southeast Asia region, the lifestyle is changing from, let's say, from countryside living. There is a big urbanization trend. People are moving to cities. Food needs to be bought from supermarkets. So in the food sector, definitely there will continue to be a trend for more food packaging needed. But then the PPWR, it considers all uses for all type of packaging. Perhaps there are some sectors where then can be done something in terms of reducing amount of packaging.
So the demand, yeah, of course, Maya.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that also the lightweighting and packaging design has an effect, because obviously, you can sell the same amount of packaging material but get more kind of a functional units out of it, and I think that benefits everybody.
As you mentioned the word functional unit, I'll follow up on another question from the online audience, which what was the functional unit, Andre, for that study you showed comparing the single-use versus the washable reuse? Do you remember?
It was a systems-based LCA, so it considered a hamburger meal.
Okay.
That was the unit. So you need a cup, you need a box, you need a...
So for the public online, is this the answer, the functional unit? I think it's worth taking a look at this study as well.
By the way, it's now all the data is available online. Like if you want to look into the data since yesterday. The study has been there for a long time, but now also the primary data that has been, or the data that has been used in the assumptions, everything can be downloaded. I can share the link.
And then one more quick question, then I will open for you, I promise. And I'm not even asking mine questions, that I have many. But maybe, Jonna, you could comment as we're talking about single uses versus recyclability. There is no one approach fits all. So what do you think fits better of single use and recycling, in your opinion?
So you mean in what products?
Yes, if you can give one example of each, in your opinion, what fits what?
Yeah, well, if we think about example food packaging, maybe the amount or type of packaging that we use compared to how long the food will stay good. That's a discussion that we need to have, because it's packed in plastic for a reason, to be able to transport the food, to be able to preserve it, to decrease the amount of food waste on that side. So there may be the single use the best case. Then obviously in example hospital environment or in our labs, we need to have single use items to be sure that it's not contaminated. Then when we go to the reusable side, I think most of the items that we use day to day could be reusable. Example, the cups. We use reusable cups, plates, cutlery all day in our homes, and it's maybe a matter of the system. Then maybe there was an idea of example these food delivery companies taking the packaging back when they bring you new food, and then you could reuse also that packaging. Why not? And what was the last part?
No, I think you gave two examples, a very good 3 examples, amazing. So now we can take a couple questions from Scott over there.
Thank you for the very nice presentations. This question is kind of more tongue-in-cheek, but there's also a kind of serious side to it. I hate washing dishes. I can spend almost like a half an hour at the sink washing dishes. And so can you extrapolate the single use versus multiple use for actually personal households?
Before I give it to Andre, I would recommend you to buy a washing machine.
Do you have kids? So how do you wash your dishes without a washing machine?
No, I do have a washing machine, but sometimes I don't always use it.
Good for the environment.
Sorry, where are you from, by the way?
Canada.
So we were just listening to a presentation about the packaging trends in the US, and apparently people really use single use in households as well. In the US. Yeah, that's quite a difference to Europe. But can I ask her some question? I'd like to know, what was your question?
So your multiple use for single use, can you extrapolate?
Yeah, not really. So there would need to be a separate, and Ali will give the correct answer here. But the study that I referred to in my presentation, that's strictly to the LCA was made for QSRs, quick service restaurants context, and considering the typical hamburger meal, considering the life cycle. I'm sure the results would be different in a household perspective, where the washing machines are different, the use of packaging is different. So I don't think anyone who seriously here is promoting single use in the household setting. But Ali, now the right answer.
Nobody has the right answer, but we have to understand that packaging is not the one thing. It's a huge collection of different applications, and it's many materials. So there is a statistical distribution of those calculations, etc. But like as a thumb of rules, those can be given in certain extent, and this is based on the Finnish Academy or Research Council, as they call it nowadays, product packaging hero, and it pretty closely indicates that one thing is, of course, the transportation. And the transportation, and in Canada, you have at least one road which is very long, so from over the continent. So it seems that if we have a distance which starts to be close to 1 kilometer, we start to be really on an edge, that it's no idea to bring it back, or you have to bring them back in a big lots. So you have to collect them somewhere. Then the washing is definitely the hurdle. So of course you can say compromise in hygiene, but we know, and this is real, from the 60s, the gastral cancers were much higher than these days. And one reason was that there was much more, say, stomach infections. So, and of course the third thing, which is what we have in there. So if we start to speak about reusable packaging, why to start with food? So if you have a detergent, if you have coffee is close to the food, but like the dry goods could be on a level. So we should start to look at first the simple, doable, and there are reusable packaging. You might have bought a beer bottle from the shop, so some are returning them back.
Yeah, Andre, yeah.
Perhaps continuing on this topic also, the study, I didn't have a slide on it, but there was a study also in terms of the takeaway context for single uses versus reuse, another life cycle assessment, and the results were very, very similar. And indeed, there the hotspot is transport that comes into play there as well. And just one thing I wanted to, excellent presentation, by the way. I'm gonna use the 2x2 turtle diagram in a modified context myself. Great presentation. And just back to the PPWR and the final outcome. So why we are quite pleased with this, that it doesn't dictate what system to be used. It's up to the markets, it's up to the customers. It doesn't exclude reusables, it doesn't exclude single use. The only thing it does exclude is plastic packaging from year 2030 onwards in-store context. So plastic, no matter what type of plastic, it's out of the in-store in 2030. But otherwise, it's up to the customers. And also, you mentioned about, in your presentation about the Central Europe markets. Indeed, there are local regulations in place. In France, France is the most, I don't know what word to use, but they took a bit of a early start. They didn't wait what happens with the packaging regulation, and they introduced national legislation, which indeed has been in place from the year 2023. And that's why we are now in a position that we can also share real-life data. What is the return rate of reusable packaging and I can say McDonald's because they talk about this publicly in an article. So any guess, what's the average rotation cycle for single-use packaging? I had the plastic cup. Ali, you have a guess? No. Yes, it's only, okay, in-store context, it's 29 rotations. Then it needs to be replaced. It's either stolen, customers buy a drink, they eat a hamburger, they take the cup to a car, and it gets lost. Or then the washing, like you said, people don't want to look at the scratched plastic cup for too long time. And then when you go to, you showed two, and you are correct, Ali, in the takeaway context, that is like half of the packaging get lost. And in Germany, there's a law that the customer today has an option to choose reusable, should he or she want. Of all the customers in McDonald's chains in Germany, 2% choose reusable. There's a €1 deposit return scheme for our reusable packaging. Even in that setting, more than half of the packaging gets lost. So, and to reusable packaging, it's not, the packaging regulation actually will make it, what's in place in Germany will be placed in the whole European level. So for your type of business, there is a market opportunity because the HoReCa sector needs to offer, similarly to Germany, should a customer want, there needs to be an option for a reusable packaging should they wish. But the data today shows that low single digits of customers choose it.
I think Maya asked, and then Jonna.
Yeah, I will give you this in a minute. Just building on, I think in a good legislation, it's good to give like clear targets, but then let the economic operators choose the best ways how to kind of reach the targets, because as discussed, the systems are really different. And then related to LCA, what you, Andre, pointed out very well in your presentation is that I think we need more LCA studies based on primary data, because you can produce even the same material in a more sustainable and not sustainable way. And then if you just utilize the industry average figures that you can get from EcoInvent, it doesn't actually give credits to those companies who really kind of, how would I say, put effort on sustainability. So I think that's what we really need, more kind of a primary data for LCA, and I'm sure we will get that, because as we all know, there will be this system of digital product passports that will be introduced within the EU in the coming years. So yeah, that will probably help us in making better choices as well.
Thank you, Maya. Jonna.
Yeah, but number 29, the average amount of washes that they had, one of those large chains that I cannot name, they did a study with our material, and it was the 6th wash was when they went with a better LCA than single-use item, and 10th wash when it became economically viable. So in that context, 29 is already quite okay.
And I think to some extent it's very much context dependent. And I want to open to the public to ask a few questions. So we have one hand here, one hand in the middle. Maybe there, and then here.
Thank you for your presentations, Daria Robertson. I will ask a global question just because I have the opportunity to ask this from this regulatory affairs specialists here. And correct me if my line of thought is a bit off, but there's a lot of motivation from the governments for green transition in industry. And this means that production costs are going to go down eventually. And this, in turn, will bring the GDP down. Are the European countries ready for the economic decline in this sense?
Who wants to start?
Just a general comment. I think at the moment when we measure kind of a success or anything, we refer to how much goods, physical goods can you make. And then I think in the future more and more of the environmental value, but also the economic value will come from the services. So I think that one will then kind of help up to also take care of the economic sustainability, because I agree with you that it's very important to take into account the environmental sustainability, social sustainability, cultural sustainability, and also the economic sustainability all at once. Ali wants to complete.
Yeah, so that the traditional way to consider is the productivity of the work. And that is one of the reasons why we have the single use. So it saves time to do something more valuable. And okay, whether that doing is then sustainable or not, that is another thing. But like from the GPT point of view, so that we could say that multiple use is providing the best increase of national income, because it means a lot of more work. The question is that what it is productivity out of that work in the end of the day. Now I'm speaking economist way, but like any lost work hours is also a lost resources somewhere else, and we don't really have the formulas to calculate those things. And the problem is that actually the LCA is not the best possible way to calculate, but it's the only way at the moment. So we are not estimating the systemic cost in real.
I also tried to apply my Aalto University studies 15 years ago, but let's give it a try. I think the question is good, but I think from the packaging industry perspective, we see the green transition as an opportunity for new business. We have a good example here. Joanna, your company wouldn't be around unless there would be a push for a green transition. I mentioned that Huhtamäki, we want to be and think we are the leader in sustainable packaging around the world at scale. So that's our selling point. We do sustainable packaging, and that creates us more business. And I think just the green transition perhaps diminishes business opportunities in some sectors, and the business logic is changing, but I don't see that has a negative impact on GDP, and then we still have the population growth, wealth growth around the globe. I mentioned Southeast Asia. There's a huge emerging middle class with much spending power in the future. So the economy is just changing. So that's why you need to keep up with the regulation. The regulation nowadays is not only something that you need to follow and comply, but it actually can be a big business boost as well.
Indeed. I would love to expand, but I'm so sorry, we need to move to the coffee break. So take the opportunity in the coffee break to ask questions to these amazing speakers, panelists that we had today. And thank you so much for the questions from the audience and from the online crowd as well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.